Treaty with the Cheyenne and Arapaho, October 28, 1867, ratified July 25, 1868. Articles of a treaty and agreement made and entered into at the council camp on Medicine Lodge Creek, 70 miles south of Fort Larned in the state of Kansas on the 28th day of October, 1867, by and between the United States of America, represented by its commissioners duly appointed thereto, to wit, Nathaniel G. Taylor, William S. Harney, C.C. Auger, Alfred H. Terry, John B. Sanborn, Samuel F. Tappan, and John B. Henderson of the one part in the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes of Indians, represented by their chiefs and headmen, duly authorized and empowered to act for the body of the people of said tribes, the names of said chiefs and headmen being hereto subscribed, of the other part, witness. Article 1. From this day forward, all war between the parties to this agreement shall forever cease. The government of the U.S. desires peace, and its honor is here pledged to keep it. The Indians desire peace, and they now pledge their honor to maintain it. If bad men among the whites or among other peoples subject to the authority of the U.S. shall commit any wrong upon the person or property of Indians, the U.S. will, upon proof made to the agent and forwarded to the Commissioner of Indian Affairs at Washington City, proceed at once to cause the offender to be arrested and punished according to the laws of the U.S. and also reimburse the injured person for the loss sustained. If bad men among Indians shall commit a wrong or depredation upon the person or property of any one white, black, or Indian subject to the authority of the U.S. and at peace therewith, the tribes here named solemnly agree that they will, on proof made to their agent and noticed by him, deliver up the wrongdoer to the U.S. to be tried and punished according to its laws. And in case they willfully refuse so to do, the person injured shall be reimbursed for his loss from the annuities or other monies due or to become due to them under this or other treaties made with the U.S. And the President, on advising with the Commissioner of Indian Affairs, shall prescribe such rules and regulations for ascertaining damages under the provisions of this article as in his judgment may be proper. But no such damages shall be adjusted and paid until thoroughly examined and passed upon by the Commissioner of Indian Affairs and the Secretary of Interior. And no one sustaining loss while violating, or because of his violating, the provisions of this treaty or the laws of the U.S. shall be reimbursed therefor. Article 2. The U.S. agrees that the following district of country, to wit, commencing at the point where the Arkansas River crosses the 37th parallel of north latitude, thence west on subparallel, the said line being the southern boundary of the state of Kansas to the Cimarron River, sometimes called the Red Fork of the Arkansas River, thence down said Cimarron River in the middle of the main channel thereof to the Arkansas River, thence up the Arkansas River in the middle of the main channel thereof to the place of beginning, shall be, and the same is hereby set apart for the absolute and undisturbed use and occupation of the Indians herein named, and for such other friendly tribes or individual Indians as for time to time they may be willing, with the consent of the U.S., to admit among them. And the U.S. now solemnly agrees that no persons except those herein authorized so to do, and accept such offers, agents and employees of the government as may be authorized to enter upon Indian reservations in discharge of duties enjoined by law, shall ever be permitted to pass over, settle upon, or reside in the territory described in this article, or in such territory as may be added to this reservation for the use of said Indians. Article 3. If it should appear from actual survey or other examination of said tract of land that it contains less than 160 acres of tillable land for each person who at the time may be authorized to reside on it under the provisions of this treaty, and a very considerable number of such persons shall be disposed to commence cultivating the soil as farmers, the U.S. agrees to set apart for the use of said Indians as herein provided such additional quantity of arable land adjoining to said reservation, or as near the same as it can be obtained, as may be required to provide the necessary amount. Article 4. The U.S. agrees at its own proper expense to construct at some place near the center of said reservation where timber and water may be convenient the following buildings, to wit, a warehouse or storeroom for the use of the agent in storing goods belonging to the Indians to cost not exceeding $1,500, an agency building for the residence of the agent to cost not exceeding $3,000. A residence for the physician to cost not more than $3,000, and 5 other buildings for a carpenter, farmer, blacksmith, miller, and engineer, each to cost not exceeding $2,000. Also a schoolhouse or mission building so soon as a sufficient number of children can be induced by the agent to attend school, which shall not cost exceeding $5,000. The U.S. agree further to cause to be erected on said reservation near the other buildings herein authorized a good steam circular sawmill with a grist mill and a shingle machine attached, the same to not cost exceeding $8,000. Article 5. The U.S. agrees that the agent for said Indians in the future shall make his home at the agency building, that he shall reside among them and keep an office open at all times for the purpose of prompt and diligent inquiry into such matters of complaint by and against Indians as may be presented for investigation, under the provisions of their treaty stipulations, as also for the faithful discharge of other duties enjoined on him by law. In all cases of depredation on person or property, he shall cause the evidence to be taken in writing and forwarded, together with his finding, to the Commissioner of Indian Affairs, whose decision, subject to the revision of the Secretary of Interior, shall be binding on the parties to this treaty. Article 6. If any individual belonging to said tribe of Indians, or legally incorporated with them, being the head of a family, shall desire to commence farming, he shall have the privilege to select, in the presence and with the assistance of the agent then in charge, a tract of land within said reservation not exceeding 320 acres in extent, which tract, when so selected, certified and recorded in the land book, as herein directed, shall cease to be held in common, but the same may be occupied and held in the exclusive possession of the person selecting it, and of his family, so long as he or they may continue to cultivate it. Any person over 18 years of age, not being the head of a family, may in like manner select and cause to be certified to him or her for purposes of cultivation a quantity of land not exceeding 80 acres in extent, and thereupon be entitled to the exclusive possession of the same as above directed. For each tract of land so selected, a certificate containing a description thereof and the name of the person selecting it, with a certificate endorsed thereon that the same has been recorded, shall be delivered to the party entitled to it by the agent, after the same shall have been recorded by him in a book to be kept in his office, subject to inspection, which said book shall be known as the Cheyenne and Arapaho Land Book. The President may at any time order a survey of the reservation, and when so surveyed, Congress shall provide for protecting the rights of settlers and their improvements, and may fix the character of the title held by each. The U.S. may pass such laws on the subject of alienation and descent of property, and on all subjects connected with the government of Indians on said reservations and the internal process thereof, as may be thought proper. Article 7. In order to ensure the civilization of the tribes entering into this treaty, the necessity of education is admitted, especially by such of them as may be settled on said agricultural reservation, and they therefore pledge themselves to compel their children, male and female, between the ages of 6 and 16 years to attend school. And it is hereby made the duty of the agent for said Indians to see that this stipulation is strictly complied with, and the U.S. agrees that for every 30 children between said ages who can be induced or compelled to attend school, a house shall be provided, and a teacher competent to teach the elementary branches of an English education shall be furnished, who will reside among said Indians and faithfully discharge his or her duties as a teacher, the provisions of this article to continue for not less than 20 years. Article 8. When the head of a family or lodge shall have selected lands and received a certificate as above directed, and the agent shall be satisfied that he intends in good faith to commence cultivating the soil for a living, he shall be entitled to receive seeds and agricultural implements for the first year not exceeding in value $100, and for each succeeding year he shall continue to farm for a period of 3 years more. He shall be entitled to receive seeds and implements as aforesaid not exceeding in value $25. And it is further stipulated that such persons as commence farming shall receive instruction from the farmer herein provided for, and whenever more than 100 persons shall enter upon the cultivation of the soil, a second blacksmith shall be provided with such iron, steel, and other material as may be needed. Article 9. At any time after 10 years from the making of this treaty, the U.S. shall have the privilege of withdrawing the physician, farmer, blacksmith, carpenter, engineer, miller, herein provided for, but in case of such withdrawal, an additional sum thereafter of $10,000 per annum shall be devoted to the education of said Indians, and the Commissioner of Indian Affairs shall, upon careful inquiry into their condition, make such rules and regulations for the expenditure of said sum as will best promote the educational and moral improvement of said tribes. Article 10. In lieu of all sums of money or other annuities provided to be paid to Indians herein named under the Treaty of October 14, 1865, made at the mouth of Little Arkansas, and under all treaties made previous thereto, the U.S. agreed to deliver at the Agency House on the reservation herein named on the 15th day of October of each year for 30 years the following articles, to wit: for each male person over 14 years of age, a suit of good, substantial woolen clothing consisting of coat, pantaloons, flannel shirt, hat, and a pair of homemade socks. For each female over 12 years of age, a flannel skirt or the goods necessary to make it, a pair of woolen hose, 12 yards of calico, and 12 yards of cotton domestics. For the boys and girls under the ages named, such flannel and cotton goods as may be needed to make a suit as aforesaid, together with a pair of woolen hose for each. And in order that the Commissioner of Indian Affairs may be able to estimate properly for the articles here named, it shall be the duty of the agent each year to forward him a full and exact census of Indians on which the estimate from year to year can be based. And in addition to the clothing here named, the sum of $20,000 shall be annually appropriated for a period of 30 years to be used by the Secretary of Interior in the purchase of such articles as from time to time the condition and necessities of the Indians may indicate to be proper. And if at any time within the 30 years it shall appear that the amount of money needed for clothing under this article can be appropriated to better uses for the tribe here named, Congress may by law change the appropriation to other purposes, but in no event shall the amount of this appropriation be withdrawn or discontinued for the period named, and the President shall annually detail an officer of the Army to be present and attest the delivery of all the goods here named to the Indians, and he shall inspect and report on the quantity and quality of the goods and manner of their delivery. Article 11. In consideration of the advantages and benefits conferred by this treaty and the many pledges of friendship by the U.S., the tribes who are parties to this agreement hereby stipulate that they will relinquish all right to occupy permanently the territory outside of their reservation as herein defined, but they yet reserve the right to hunt on any lands south of the Arkansas, so long as the buffalo may range thereon in such numbers as to justify the chase, and no white settlements shall be permitted on any part of the lands contained in the old reservation as defined by the treaty made between the U.S. and the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Apache tribes of Indians at the mouth of the Little Arkansas under date of October 14, 1865, within 3 years from this date, and they, the said tribes, further expressly agree. First, that they will withdraw all opposition to the construction of the railroad now being built on the Smoky Hill River, whether it be built to Colorado or New Mexico. Second, that they will permit the peaceable construction of any railroad not passing over the reservation as herein defined. Third, that they will not attack any persons at home or traveling, nor molest or disturb any wagon trains, coaches, mules, or cattle belonging to the people of the U.S. or to persons friendly therewith. Fourth, they will never capture or carry off from the settlements white women or children. Fifth, they will never kill or scalp white men, nor attempt to do them harm. Sixth, they withdraw all pretense of opposition to the construction of the railroad now being built along the Platte River and westward to the Pacific Ocean, and they will not in future object to the construction of railroads, wagon roads, mail stations, or other works of utility or necessity, which may be ordered or permitted by the laws of the U.S., but should such roads or other works be constructed on the lands of their reservation, the government will pay the tribe whatever amount of damage may be assessed by 3 disinterested commissioners to be appointed by the President for that purpose, one of said commissioners to be chief or headman of the tribe. Seventh, they agree to withdraw all opposition to the military posts or roads now established or that may be established not in violation of treaties heretofore made or hereafter to be made with any of the Indian tribes. Article 12. No treaty for the cession of any portion or part of the reservation herein described which may be held in common shall be of any validity or force as against the said Indians unless executed and signed by at least 3/4 of all the adult male Indians occupying or interested in the same. And no cession by the tribe shall be understood or construed in such manner as to deprive without his consent any individual member of the tribe of his rights to any tract of land selected by him as approved in Article 6 of this treaty. Article 13. The U.S. hereby agree to furnish annually to the Indians the physician, teachers, carpenter, miller, engineer, farmer, and blacksmith, as herein contemplated, and that such appropriation shall be made from time to time on the estimates of the Secretary of Interior as will be sufficient to employ such persons. Article 14. It is agreed that the sum of $500 annually for 3 years from date shall be expended in presents to the 10 persons of said tribe who, in the judgment of the agent, may grow the most valuable crops for the respective year. Article 15. The tribes here named agree that when the agency, house, and other buildings shall be constructed on the reservation named, they will regard and make said reservation their permanent home, and they will make no permanent settlement elsewhere, but they shall have the right, subject to the conditions and modifications of this treaty, to hunt on the lands south of the Arkansas River, formerly called theirs, in the same manner as agreed on by the Treaty of the Little Arkansas, concluded the 14th day of October, 1865, in testimony of which we have hereunto set our hands and seals on the day and year aforesaid. N. G. Taylor, President of Indian Commission, William S. Harney, Major General, Brevet and Company, C. C. Auger, Brevet Major General, Alfred H. Terry, Brevet Major General, John B. Sanborn, Commissioner, Samuel F. Tappan, J. B. Henderson. Attest Ashton, Ace H. White, Secretary, George B. Willis, Phonographer. On the part of the Cheyennes, Atoa, Matko, Bull Bear, his mark. Moke Tavato, Black Kettle, his mark. Nakohaket, Little Bear, his X mark. Moa vova est, spotted elk, his mark. Esse van neve, buffalo chief, his X mark. Vipo na, sunface, his X mark. Wopaha, grayhead, his X mark. Onihaket, little rock, his X mark. Mamonkey, or curly hair, his X mark. Ota hastis, tall bull, his X mark. Wopaham, or white horse, his X mark. Haket homa, little robe, his X mark. Menenemwa, whirlwind, his X mark. Moyan histau, heap of birds, his X mark. On the part of the Arapahoes, little raven, his X mark. Yellow bear, his X mark. Storm, his X mark. White rabbit, his X mark. Spotted wolf, his X mark. Little big mouth, his X mark. Young colt, his X mark. Tall bear, his X mark. Attest: C.W. Whitaker, interpreter. H. Douglas, Major, 3rd Infantry. Jonathan D. Howland, Clerk in Commission. Samuel S. Smoot, U.S. Surveyor. A.A. Taylor. Henry Stanley, Correspondent. John Smith, U.S. Interpreter. George Bent, Interpreter. Thomas Murphy, Superintendent, Indian Affairs.